Good morning, friends. Today I speak to you introducing Jean Baudrillard as a cultural theorist. Jean Baudrillard was a French sociologist, philosopher, and cultural theorist. He is best known for his analysis of media, contemporary culture, and technological communication, as well as his formulation of concept as simulacra and simulation. And among his best works are Seductions, 1978, Simulacra and Simulation, 1981, America, 1986, and the Gulf War did not take place in 1991. His work is frequently associated with the postmodernism and specifically post-structuralism. Baudrillard was born in Reims, northeastern France on 27 July 1929. His grandparents were farm workers and his father was a gendarme. During his high school, he became aware of the pataphysics via philosophy, Professor Emmanuel Pellet, which is said to be crucial for understanding Baudrillard's later thought. He became the first of his family to attend the university when he moved to Paris to attend the Sorbonne. There he studied German literature and language, which he led him to begin teaching the subject in its several different lycees, both Persian and provincial, from 1960 to 66. While teaching, Baudrillard began publishing reviews of literature and translated some works of the authors like Peter Weiss, Bertolt Brecht, Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and William Emil Mohlman. Baudrillard was married twice and he had his first wife, Lucille Baudrillard, had two children, Giles and Anne. In 1970, during his first marriage, Baudrillard met 25 years old Marion Dupy when she arrived at the Paris Nanterre University, where she was a professor. When he was a professor, Marion went on to be a media artist director. They married in 1994 when he was 65. While teaching German, Baudrillard began to transfer to sociology, eventually completing and publishing in 1968 his doctoral thesis, Les Systèmes d'Objects, the System of Objects under Dissertation Committee of Henri Lefebvre, Roland Barthes, and Pierre Bourdieu. Subsequently began teaching sociology at the Paris ex Nanterre, a university campus just outside Paris, which would become heavily involved in the events of May 1968. And now we move on to his great contribution, the system of objects. This is the earliest of him. It is entitled as The System of Objects for a Critique of the Political Economy of Science and the Consumer Society. Baudrillard's main focus is upon the consumerism and how different objects were consumed in different ways. At this time, Baudrillard's political outlook is loosely associated with Marxism and situationalism. But in these books, he differed from Karl Marx in one significant way. For Baudrillard, as for the situationists, it was a consumption rather than production that was the main driver of capitalist society. Baudrillard came to his conclusion by criticizing Marx's concept of use value. Baudrillard thought that both Marx's and Adam Smith's economic thought accepted the idea of genuine needs relating to genuine uses too easily and too simply. Baudrillard argued, drawing from Georges Bataille, that needs are constructed rather than innate. He stressed that all purchases, because they always signify something socially, have their fetishistic side. Objects always drawing from Roland Barthes say something about their users, and this was for him why consumption was and remains more important than production, because the ideological genesis of needs precedes the production of goods to meet those needs. He wrote about four ways of an object obtaining a value in the society. The four value making procedure. The first one is the functional value, an object's instrumental purpose, use value. For example, the pen writes, a refrigerator cools the things that you keep inside. Number two, the exchange value, the object economic value. For example, one pen may be worth of three pencils, while one refrigerator may be worth the half of your salary. And number three, the symbolic value, the object which value assigned by the subject in relation to another subject, that's between a giver and a receiver. For example, a pen might symbolize a student's school graduation gift, or a commencement of speaker's gift, or a diamond, maybe a symbol of publicly declared marital love. Fourth one is the sign value, the object value within the system of objects. Example, a particular pen may, while having no added functional benefit, signify prestige relative to another pen. A diamond ring may have no function at all, but may suggest particular social values such as taste or class. Baudrillard's earlier books were attempt to argue that the first two of these values are not simply associated but are disrupted by the third, and particularly the fourth. Later, Baudrillard rejected Marxism totally in his book The Mirror of Production and Symbolic Exchange and Death, but the focus on the difference between a sign value and a symbolic value remained in his work up until his death, and it came to play more and more important role, particularly in his writing on world events. As Baudrillard developed his work throughout 1980s, he moved on for economic theory to mediation and mass communication, although retaining his interest in Saussurean semiotics and logic of symbolic exchange. Baudrillard turned his attention to the work of Marshall McLuhan, developing ideas about how the nature of social relations is determined by the forms of communication that a society employs. In so doing, Baudrillard progressed beyond both Saussure's and Roland Barthes' formal semiology to consider the implications of a historically understood version of structural semiology. According to Cornelius Quas, Baudrillard rejected the structural principle of equivalence of different forms of linguistic organization, the binary principle that contains oppositions such as false true, man woman, black white, real and unreal, center and periphery. He denies any possibility of mimetic duplication of reality. Reality mediated through language becomes a game of science. In his theoretical system, all distinctions between real and the functional, between a copy and the original, disappear. Simulation, Baudrillard claims, is the current stage of the simulacrum. Simulation means imitation. To simulate means to imitate, make a copy. All is composed of references with no reference, a hyper-reality. Baudrillard argues that this is part of a historical progression. In the Renaissance, a dominant simulacrum was in the form of a counterfeit, where people or objects appear to stand for a real object, real referent that doesn't exist. For instance, royalty, nobility, holiness, etc. With the Industrial Revolution, the dominant simulacrum became the product which could be perpetuated in an endless production line. In current time, the dominant circulum is the model, which by its nature already stands for endless reproducibility and is itself already reproduced. This is the major contribution of Jean Baudrillard to the field of cultural studies. He diagnosed by cancer. Baudrillard died in 2009 to years ago from his apartment at Rue Saint-Tabar, Paris, at the age of 77. Thank you.